Hello, my name is Louis Bonfanti, and today I will be presenting my research on labor unions and economic factors. In this presentation, we will go over what a labor union is, the purpose of a union leadership, membership, economic impacts, as well as the strengths and challenges of modern-day labor unions. Merriam-Webster defines a labor union as an organization of workers formed for the purpose of advancing its members' interests in respect to wages, benefits, and working conditions. The purpose and function of a labor union encompasses a number of initiatives that union board members take on with the employer. Unions help with building power or help give workers a voice in the workplace. Collective bargaining, which could be used to negotiate equitable and fair wages as well as benefits. Gender equality, immigration, access to quality education, compliance with labor laws, along with workplace health and safety. In research conducted by Ted Bremeyer, he points out that collective bargaining or collective voice increase productivity, reduce inequality, and represent the interest of their own workers as well as lower income and disadvantaged people. People in unions are less likely to quit, and in result, that internal knowledge and skill set is retained with that organization. A well-known lawsuit of Florence St. John versus General Motors addressed providing equitable pay for women and providing a healthy work environment. Florence worked in assembling harmonic balancers on General Motor vehicles, which was seen as a considerably demanding role. She, among other women in the organization, were upset with unsanitary conditions of the women's lunchroom with birds roosting in the room from broken windows. But the main complaint was the pay inequity based on gender. She earned as much as 15 or 20 cents an hour less, which was a substantial hit when the hourly wage of line level production workers was less than $1. Women in heavy manufacturing roles were joining these unions, which were rapidly growing in numbers, resources, and recognition in the fight to improve wages and the working conditions. The AFL-CIO, or the American Federation of Labor, Congress of Industrial Organization, is a federation of 60 national and international labor unions that represents over 13 million working men and women. Its purpose and goal is to bring fairness and dignity to the workplace and secure social and economic equity. This includes several occupations such as skilled trade positions, postal workers, healthcare employees, athletes, students, and several other groups. Within each of these unions, there are local unions that are present within communities. Specifically in Louisiana, there is a presence of local trade unions, which include the Iron Workers Local 623, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, or the IBEW 995, and the Central South Carpenters Regional Council, Local Union 1098. According to Hogler, 2009 research, since the 1970s, labor union membership in the United States has declined from its peak of about one-third of the non-agricultural workforce to just above 12% overall and 7.6% in the private sector. Another researcher named Adam Abrams discusses how there has been a significant drop in union membership in the private sector, which is the lowest level in history in his 2017 research with the Employee Relations Law Journal, a total drop of 6.4%, which means that more employees are choosing to reject joining a union even though the union represents them. The drop appears to be related to a growing support of the right to work movement. Right to work refers to statutes that are adopted to express the purpose of allowing employees the right to choose to join and pay dues to a union or choose not to be a union member. The National Labor Relations Act, or the NRLA, explicitly provides that unions can, in negotiations with an employer, put provisions in their collective bargaining agreement which require that employees, as a condition of continued employment, become members of the union within 30 days of the effective date of the agreement. These union security clauses provide the unions the security of knowing they will have a continuous source of revenue dues while depriving employees of any job security should they not comply with this condition. These arrangements ignore the rights of those that may have opposed the unionization from the beginning, which forces employees to pay into this. This can, in result, lead to hostility and opposition in the work environment. Peter Berg takes this another step further in his research and suggests labor market inequality has declined since 2000. Berg indicates that wages have increased for men and women with very high paying jobs, but wage stagnation has plagued the majority of workers for more than a decade. His research states that employers are deliberately misclassifying positions so the employee can be paid less. In addition, overtime pay for extra hours was not paid in his research. The misclassification of these positions can impact overall earnings as well as future retirement funding. Divant's 2012 article titled "The Attack on U.S. Public Sector Unionism" states that the public sector unions in the United States have come under increasing attack since the onset of the financial crisis in the fall 2008. With declines in tax revenue due to the Great Recession of 2007 to 2009 and high level of unemployment exacerbated by the financial crisis, combined with the feeling that government spending is out of control, numerous media commentators as well as journal and newspaper articles have blamed public sector unions for their role in excessive government spending. Teacher unions are viewed by some as an obstacle to address public education reform, with opposition to ideas such as linking teacher performance to students' academic achievement and opposition to creating charter schools. Attacking public employee unions has divided and weakened the working class by turning taxpayer private sector employees against government employees who are now being seen as a privileged worker. Although it appears there is more negative media and outlooks on labor unions, there are strengths that should be noted in recent events. In New Zealand, there is legislation against sexual or racial harassment in the workplace, which is something that we as United States citizens and workers are familiar with since we have laws that also address these concerns. But research by Beck looks at legislation enacted by prohibiting workplace bullying. His research defines workplace bullying as repeated unreasonable and inappropriate actions and practices that are directed to one or more workers, which are unwanted by the victim, which may be done deliberately and unconsciously, but do cause humiliation, offense, and distress, and that may interfere with job performance and can even cause an unpleasant working environment. New Zealand labor unions and the WorkSafe New Zealand Council worked together to institute guidelines to define what would entail bullying. There are three elements that would prompt an investigation of an activity, which include repeated and unreasonable behavior, actions directed toward a worker or a group of workers, or the actions can lead to physical or psychological harm. In another event, following Hurricane Sandy in 2012, there was a need for cleanup efforts in both New Jersey and New York. Latino immigrants played a vital role in this cleanup initiative. The laborers received federally funded short-term occupational safety and health training through community-based organizations to reduce the risk as well as hazards to themselves. This was an initiative that included university-based occupational health researchers, local labor unions, and 7 community-based organizations that serve Latino immigrant communities in both New York and New Jersey. A similar project was started from this framework following the August 2016 flood in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Again, Local labor unions and community-based organizations provided occupational safety and health training along with productive equipment to 400 workers for community cleanup and initiatives projects. In conclusion to this presentation, collaborative bargaining or collective voice for union members can bring about positive change for workers, such as increasing wages as well as sanitary and safe workplaces. As mentioned in this presentation, 2017 was the lowest level in history of labor union involvement in the private sector. However, there are not signs of this occurring in the public sector. The total drop was 6.4%, which indicates more employees are choosing to reject the option to join a union, but there are times that there is not an option and people are forced to join. Again, going back to unions fighting for living wages for its members, there still appears to be issues with this based on Peter Berg's research, which indicates that employers are intentionally misclassifying jobs to pay workers at a lower rate. Recent positive events involving labor unions are the WorkSafe New Zealand Council establishing protection for employees against bullying in the workplace and with union leaders' help. Community-based organizations and labor unions working together to create trainings for workers during community cleanups from natural disasters. With this information, there are strengths and downfalls to the modern labor union, with excessive spending being a major concern, but there are still advances being made in the workplace.